Thank you very much. So this is the final session of LIAMforum 2023. And the concept is we'll have a chat among two individuals that participate in LIAMforum who understand the issues that we're dealing with. And what we want to hear is their views on the best moments in LIAMforum, which themes could be reinforced, and what subjects they would like to see in LIAMforum 2024. So with that, Masaki, would you like to start? Give me your views on LIAMforum.
Yeah, I think I think we've had, I guess there've been a couple panels and a few themes have come up, but I think what excites me is the alignment, the collective motivation between the different parties. So academia, industry, government. If we work together, I mean, it's a shared challenge and a shared responsibility. But if we work together, we can achieve positive change and we can make a huge difference. But it was more a matter, is there that will? And I sort of learned that I think there is, and having future conversations is going to facilitate that for sure.
Thank you. Zivi?
Yeah, I think coming from a student perspective, it was really interesting to talk to all these industry professionals and honestly learn the language that the variation from academic speaking to industry. There's a lot of terms I learned. I wrote them all down and I'm going to look them up later. But yeah, just it was a really great platform for students to be exposed to that, to the industry and really make connections. I've made plenty this past week.
Which is one of the goals of LIAMforum, is for young people to not to be afraid to network, to reach out to people. If Masaki will get an email from somebody who is a student, he will be more than glad to respond positively. And I think the greatest challenge we face is that kids who are naturally oriented towards geology and so on, they will come into the industry. But many others who should be in the industry to fulfill important roles in sustainability, environment, social sciences, they don't come to us because they may not know anything about us, or the little they know may be very negative, and they stay away from that. So how do we break that cycle? We had an interesting conversation with a minister, and you heard the last 5 minutes what he said, Masaki.
Yes, I didn't catch the whole. I was in transit from Montreal to Vancouver, so but yeah, I'll watch the recording.
Yeah, and he essentially there'll be a follow-up conversation with him, and I'll certainly bring the members of the panel will be informed, and you'll come into the conversation because you have a lot of experience, Masaki, in terms of dealing with the challenge of attracting people to the industry, and over the last years, and the requirements of the industry have changed. I mentioned the digital twin at Quebrada Blanca during the call with the minister. And the idea of using something of that nature to create for Canada and for the benefit of the world as well, a leading educational program for people entering the sector. So when you're trained for the sector, you're not trained in a silo. You're trained to be part of the industry. So you understand all the important components. You'll absolutely have your specialty, and that specialty may evolve over the years. But when you're part of the industry, you need to understand all the components and the purpose of the industry. And this way, you'll become a more resilient, more profitable, and more socially successful enterprise by doing that. And it'll be more enjoyable for everybody. So these are the sort of initiatives. What items would you suggest we look at for the LIAMforum for next year? Any thoughts come to mind?
I personally really enjoyed hearing stories that either geologists or mining engineers had over the years as they've developed their careers. And I especially loved when they included photos or little anecdotes of that. And maybe the only suggestion I have really is to highlight maybe like speaker profiles, if that makes sense. So if somebody was a part of a company and they did this fantastic expedition or something that would really bring in students to the mining industry, because exploring and traveling is definitely a big attraction to the mining industry. So somebody who has done, I don't know, maybe they climbed Mount Everest or something in search for gold, and if they did a speaker profile on that with like a little interview or something like that.
Yeah, people in the mining industry are jaded because we go to so many wonderful places, and they are wonderful. One item that was discussed with the minister is the idea. One of your interns, I mean, she grew up in a mining family in coal country, and she'd never been to a mine before, didn't visit. And I think and your idea of having summer camps, combining summer camps with introduction of what mining is about and visits to sites. PDAC has this program where 20 or 24 young people in school visit mines. CIME is called. It's funded by the industry, and so 24 lucky students visit mines during the summer. But that's a drop in the bucket. And what we would like to do is to have, I think the idea of the camps is absolutely, it makes a lot of sense. And it'll provide, you can get school credits from if it's done properly. And when you see with your eyes what a mining operation is like, you'll either like it and love it, or say that's not for me, and that's fine. But at least be exposed to that. And I think we will get a lot of traction. And these are small ideas perhaps, but they're worth trying. And if they work, so spread them out, globalize them.
Yeah, I look at for a future LIAMforum is if we focus on a couple different areas, and in my mind, there's awareness, there's the education or education system, and then there's the retention side, which we haven't talked a ton about, because we can attract young people, but we also need to keep them. And I think, one of the students mentioned about, obviously there's competition globally, and Canadian engineers working in other countries or being attracted or being, pulled to other countries, and how do we keep them here? But the awareness part is there's so many different ways we can create awareness. The summer camps for high school kids is just, or even elementary is just one tiny piece. But awareness also is, as you mentioned, it's either we bring the mines to the people or we bring the people to the mines, and we all have to be doing that, right? So every mining company, if you have a mine, you need to be bringing kids and teachers to the mine, because that's how we develop allies, and that's how we we attract the next generation. On the flip side, tools like the metaverse, we can bring that to the to the audience. We can bring that into the classroom, and so there's different ways. But I think Zivi, you brought up a great point where we also need to sort of humanize the industry. Like for many people in the city, mines are so far away. That's such a foreign concept. But it's those individual stories. Everybody in mining has a great story. They have reasons why they're why they're in the industry, their passions, and they've chosen to be in the mining industry, and so many people are having wonderful careers and success. And it's those stories we need to share, because once again, it makes it more real and more relatable. And it's that authentic messaging. That's the key to actually convincing young people the idea. This is not just PR. This is not just greenwashing an industry, but it's actually real. And so leveraging those individuals. That's on the awareness side. There's still the education retention parts, but those are two other parts.
It's very important. This is why I ask people when you come as your 18-year-old and tell your story. And it's been wonderful. I've learned people that are known for years, a side of them came out as to, but what is very common among pretty much every single presenter is a passion. What they do, and they came to LIAMforum because they love what they do. This is not the yada yada, I need to go to another conference. No, this is my life. It's not just a job. And this I think young people can relate to that. Because when I was young, I dreaded ending up working for one of the giant corporations in a cubicle, and like and young kids today have no tolerance for that. The other aspect, the phrase mining is a dirty industry, and I find that really interesting. Somebody else mentioned, no, but you're thinking about mining in the 1950s. They made reference to that, and today a modern mine is super clean. The processing plant is super clean. There's no dust. A modern mining operation is extraordinarily impressive, and you're moving huge amounts of material, but people have no idea, tens of thousands of tons a day, and you can walk barefoot on the plant floor. You won't be allowed to because you have to wear all the safety equipment, but it is clean. And this person, I don't know what could be done in terms of perception, but certainly, Masaki, I mentioned to you the Knowledge Society, what they do in terms of STEM acceleration, but using videos, using modern methods, I think there's a lot that we can do. I mentioned Mining Matters to the minister. Mining Matters struggles to get to teachers. They have little packages and so on. I think we need to turbocharge that. We need to create super exciting programs, and could be in video. Could be exactly what the conversation that Zivi has. People giving 10-minute presentations, who they are, what they're doing, walk with the camera around the mine, and then say, you know what, when I your age, I didn't have a clue. And you start putting those things on. I think that's and again, I'm no psychologist, I'm not professional in the area, but we need to do something in a systemic way.
Well, just to build on that, I was talking to students from McGill last night, and these are young mining engineering students, and they're having challenges explaining to their parents why they're in mining. And so what I told them was, we need to focus on, we can separate, I think we need to sort of separate the present, like the past and the future. Every industry has a past and a lot of negative things about every industry, right? Society changed over time, priorities changed over time, and I'll be honest, mining has a bad history over time, and that's just the way it was. But things have changed, priorities have changed, organizations have changed, but the legacy and that memory persists, and that's what we're combating. But I sort of explained to the students is that history is not our history. In fact, I'm relatively new to the mining industry. That old history wasn't me. I was not part of that. I'm part of the future, and that's what excites me. And what we need to encourage the young people is, it's the young people who will be driving the mining industry to what it will be in the future. They're the ones who can shape it in the way we all want it. And so the messaging to the students was, let's just focus on the future and making the mining industry as sustainable and inclusive in the way as desirable as we want to make it.
Yeah, I heard one person on a panel at LIAMforum say my parents were really puzzled or worried about me becoming a mining engineer. And that brings it to the word mining. Rio Tinto now uses the phrase, we produce materials. We're not mining. We supply materials to the world, to the greener world. And that is the correct way to look at it, because mining is part of the operation, and is the word itself this has a legacy association with it. And the way we mine today is certainly not the way people used to mine, and that is evolving. And new techniques are coming online. It's high tech. There's autonomous vehicles. And 10, 20 years from now, there'll be very, very few people underground. It'll all be remote, autonomous. But how do you convey that? This is the other important element, I think, is we need to take advantage of the fact that where mines are located and draw a circle around the mines and make sure that every high school kid and primary school kid around those mines knows about them, is familiar. And your idea, Masaki, of the camps, if we combine that with visits, there are safety issues when you visit a mine as well, and mines work 24/7 non-stop. So how do you account for that? And there'll be a lot of pushback, but I'm sure that there are ways of setting that up and creating a way of doing it. You know, you can have virtual setups as well, so people can be shown. And I think if this is done on a, if the industry pulls together to actually crack this nut, I think we'll be able to do an extremely nice job about it. And we can also use science centers as a means of showing what the industry is about.
Well, you bring up a good point about, so it is a pain to get mine tours. It does impact operations. You pull people away from operations. There's a safety component, but that's built in. And so, you know, that's less of the concern, but it's more about impacting operations because that's what's generating revenue for an organization. But we have to realize that the priority is, so if we don't have social license, we can't mine. If we don't get the environmental permit, we cannot mine. But we also realize if we don't have the talent to mine, we can't mine. And so it's also the responsibility of the operations to build in the talent attraction, the awareness, education piece. Otherwise, there will not be the talent to continue mining.
Yeah, and you know, sorry, go ahead, Zivi.
I was just going to say, and it's not just the active mines, like as cool as they are, I've been to a few myself, but it's not just the active mines I think that students should be exposed to, but as well as the remediated mines, because the aftermath of mining is something that a lot of my generation has a hesitation for. So to see how they're remediated and what they actually look like after 50 years or 100 years even, that's so crucial and part of that retaining students in the mining industry for sure.
Yeah, and I like the idea of physical presence. You can see things on screen is not the same when you go there. And even when you go to a mine, you may not go into the operations, but if you just walk around the place where trucks are being repaired, just to see the size of the things and to understand. And maybe have somebody who is off shift to come and talk to the young people. To say, this is what I do, and have an engineer, this is what I do. And the other thing I heard is that engineers in particular love the fact that in mining, you design something and it gets built. In many other operations, you design something and it goes into a plant somewhere, it takes 10 years to be seen. Mining is pretty urgent. You have a timeline, you need to build something, and it is, you have a lot of responsibility, and that works. With regard to immigration or immigration, I'm not fast. We live in a free country. You cannot put chains on people. But if you create an environment that is positive, that is rewarding, not just monetarily, it will be rewarding monetarily because there's a shortage of labor and salaries will be good. But with the climate is exactly the same climate that keeps you at Teck. You know, it's a positive climate that you see that your views, your ideas can become reality, and you feel satisfaction from implementing them. I'm not particularly worried. If we build good mines and we have good mining, we'll have good people. That's we have about 10 minutes to go. So perhaps we can. I've taken note of the two items that you mentioned, Masaki, in terms of bringing awareness and then education and retention. And these are panels that were added this year at LIAMforum because I felt there was a need. But also LIAMforum has an important informational component. That's why I have this whole variety of panels. I had a panel on the Amazon and I had a panel on the Canadian North, almost back to back. It was a really interesting contrast. They both face similar challenges in terms of remoteness and impact, the climate impact. And how do you bring we have a huge challenge in Canada with kids that live up north because there's no connectivity, and they don't have the social connection. They cannot visit many people, but there is a huge potential for population. And the other statistic that I read is the tiny number of First Nations people that study engineering. And I don't know how we're going to bridge that gap in the near future. How do we work towards that improvement? And the statistic I read from Engineers Canada is 4.6% of Canada is First Nation, but they're only 0.6% of the engineers are First Nations.
Yeah, the Indigenous, in engineering, the number of Indigenous students who get into the program, to the best of my knowledge, and anecdotally, I worked at UBC for over 10 years, and so I could probably count the number of Indigenous engineering students on both hands that I recall. There may be some that I wasn't aware of, but from the ones that I was aware of, there's a challenge. There's a huge challenge to even just getting into the engineering system. Like the grades requirements are so high. Lots of communities, they're going to struggle to even get high school graduation. So that's a very, very large and complicated challenge. But speaking of the education part, though, we still need to focus. Like I think for the next LIAMforum, I think we need some goals, and I think we need to set some targets and try to achieve some of them. So for example, just prior to this, I saw a LinkedIn post from Colorado School of Mines, and it sounds like there's 600 students studying mining engineering in the US. For a population of 300 million, that is a tiny number, considering they used to have 20 some odd mining schools in the country. Now they're down to a handful, as you know. So Canada is now producing more mining engineers. There's more students, with 850 some odd students studying mining engineering in Canada. Are we the leading producer of mining engineers in the world? Well, I mean, obviously there's higher numbers, let's say in other countries, possibly in China, India, but in terms of the quality of education they're provided, and there's some differences because our schools are rated pretty highly in Canada and the US. But the challenge here is our schools are disappearing, and we're struggling. Every school is struggling to hire educators. And like in my mind, that is something that we've been aware of for 30 years. There's going to be I did my research. There are papers describing the global shortage, or the pending global shortage of mining educators, and we've done absolutely nothing to change that. In my mind, if we can get government more involved, industry, academic collaboration, this is one, in my mind, is urgent, absolutely urgent.
You're absolutely on point. I raised the point with and the minister acknowledged the point, and I will follow up. You and I should talk because what I told the minister is we talk about critical minerals. We have a critical human capital shortage and we won't be able to produce the critical minerals without the human capital to actually develop and produce the mines. It's as simple as that.
Yeah.
I am grateful, very grateful for you stepping up and being part of this conversation. I thought it was important to have it, to wrap it up. And to the audience in Canada and around the world watching, mining and the mining of critical minerals is part of the solution to issues to green the economy. It's a global issue, it's a global industry, and we welcome ideas from around the world. I know we have people from over 65 countries, 67 I think at the last count, and in every single country this issue arises. You need to produce metals, we need to create modern industries, cleaner industries, and young people are going to be the transformation for all of them. So with that, I'll wrap it up. I thank you all. Zivi, Masaki, thank you so much. And we'll stay online until they shut the transmission.
Thank you, Raziel, so much. This was an incredible forum for sure, and my first one, so I'll definitely be here next year too.
Thank you. And thank you, Masaki.